India is a tech giant today, but beneath the code of our mobile applications lies a 5,000-year-old DNA of Rita, the cosmic order. At its core, Vedic wisdom refers to the body of knowledge derived from the Vedas, the oldest sacred scriptures of India. It's a comprehensive operating system for human life, social order, and governance. The concept of Rita or cosmic order in modern strategic application is equivalent to systems thinking. If you understand the underlying patterns of market or geopolitical landscape, you can predict the outcomes. Dharma or ethical sustainability is a precursor of corporate social responsibility. It argues that any strategy adopted by a kingdom or a company that harms a larger ecosystem will eventually lead to self-destruction. We're not looking at the spectacular Indian history or the marvel of Vedas. We are looking at a stolen future where India and the world would have been if the gears of our civilization hadn't been ground to a halt by colonization. When we peel back the layers of our Vedic genius, we get many clues about the kingdoms that proved how superior we were. Before we talk about the Indian heritage, let's talk about hard science. The Sulabh Sutras of 800 BCE contained the Pythagorean theorem and the square roots century before the West. Shushruta performed rhinoplasty and used over 120 surgical instruments 2,500 years ago. Mauryan Empire under Ashoka or the Gupta dynasty weren't just military powers, they were intellectual hubs. The Chola Empire took Vedic culture across the oceans, building the world's most sophisticated naval and local self-governance systems. They proved that Vedic principles could create a society that was wealthy, artistic, and militarily invincible. To be honest and fair as a nation, we must also acknowledge the shadows or the black spots during Vedic period. As the Vedic age transitioned into later and medieval periods, the system began to rot from within. The caste system, what was once a flexible merit-based Varna system, hardened into a birth-based Jati system. This led to the horrific practice of untouchability and the exclusion of millions from the knowledge economy. In terms of gender aggression, the early Vedic period saw women like Gagi debating in royal courts. However, later periods saw a decline in the women's rights and education. We lost our strength because we started gatekeeping knowledge rather than sharing it. Now let's ask the big question, where would India be if it weren't colonized? In 1700, India held 24% of the world's GDP. Without the loot of our wealth, estimated at around $45 trillion, India would have been the world's first green industrial power. Before the British Macaulay system, India had a decentralized school in every village. Literacy rate would have been 100% a century ago. Education in native languages would have fostered original thinking rather than rotten clerical skills. A non-colonized India would have offered the world a model of conscious capitalism where industry coexists with nature, probably preventing the climate crisis we face today. The invasions, first the Islamic sultanates and conquerors who came afterwards, did more than steal gold. They burned our hard drive. When Nalanda and Vikramshila were destroyed, we lost thousands of years of research in metallurgy and astronomy. The impact of psychological colonization was even greater. We were taught to view our Shastras as superstition. We became tourists in our own history, seeking validation from Westerns for things like yoga or even for haldi. Now the million-dollar question and the most important one. How do we bridge that gap, or rather revive it? We don't go back to the past, we bring the past into the future. So how do we apply the logic here? Use Vedic mathematics to speed up our coding. Use Ayurveda for preventive healthcare to reduce the burden on our hospitals. Stop teaching history as a list of defeats. Teach kids that their ancestors were the original hackers of this universe. Teach Sanskrit as a logical language, not just as a religious one. To be precise, logic over ritual and explains the science behind our traditions, why we face the East and why we use copper utensils. And most importantly, why we meditate. Remember, India is the only living ancient civilization. Rome is in museums and Egypt is in pyramids. But the Vedic vibration is alive in you. Let's build a great India, one that launches rocket to the Mars. But never forget the slogas that taught us to look at the stars in the first place. If you could reclaim one lost piece of Indian history, what would it be? Let's talk in the comments. Namaste. We are a brand new channel. If these videos are giving you any value, please consider subscribing. Thanks for it.